Welcome to the Leafy Podcast, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs grow. Say hello to your hosts, Jennifer Glagoric and Brian Price, founders of Leafy Legal Services, teaching you how to protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth. Let's start the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to Leafy Podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm your podcast manager, Tammy Gearling, and today as our host, we have Brian Price. He is the CEO of Leafy Legal Services, and we have a very special guest with us today, so I will go ahead and hand it over to Brian so we can get started.
All right. Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's doing awesome. So today we have a really special guest. His name is Lane Kawaoka. He's a licensed professional with a master's degree in civil engineering with an emphasis in construction management and a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering, both from University of Washington. So some of you may not know, but I went to University of Washington as well. So I'm super happy having him in here. So I know he's legit knowing where he went to school. So go Dogs. And as an engineer, Lane has managed over $230 million of capital construction projects in both public and private sector. Aside from his day job, he controls 7 manufactured home parks and 15 apartment buildings and 1 assisted living facility totaling 2,600 plus units in 11 U.S. markets. Lane's passion project, which is Simple Passive Cashflow.com, we'll have the link below this as well, is a top 50 investing podcast and online learning resource in passive real estate investing. Working as a high-paid professional in corporate America and frustrated by the traditional wealth building dogma, Lane was compelled to inspire and mentor other working professionals on how to do real estate investing and build their own portfolios. Lane urges other working professionals to get started by utilizing their highest and best use, their day job, by utilizing their to save for a 20% down payment for a conventional loan to acquire a single family home rental. The Simple Passive Cashflow method is also is to only buy investments with a healthy cash flow buffer that will withstand a market downturn. In addition to mentoring, Lane also partners with beginning investors who want to build a portfolio but are too busy to handle direct investments. He uses his engineering mind, investing knowledge, and network of crowdsourced due diligence through the 2,600 members of the Huge Deal Pipeline Club. Together, they have placed over $18 million worth of capital. So welcome, Lane. That was a bunch to go through. It's awesome to have you here. And I appreciate you being on the podcast with us today.
Yeah, go Dogs.
Yeah, go Dogs. So in addition to having the college in common, you also are in Hawaii, Honolulu, Hawaii. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Excellent.
After 14 years in Seattle, I finally moved back home.
Excellent. So yeah, my wife is originally from Hawaii, and so we love to go back as well. So appreciate it.
Yeah, you got the Hawaiian Legend shirt on today.
Exactly. You I did it just for you, Lane. So why don't we get started here and kind of get your story of where you started? You said you were in Seattle, and did you start in real estate investing in Seattle, or kind of how did you get started?
Yeah, so I went to UW industrial engineering, and my path was probably similar to yours, right? Our parents tell us to go to school. We're halfway decent at science and math, so we become engineers to go into that corporate lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I graduated UW, went to work as a construction supervisor, and it made a good salary, I guess, but was also on that whole dogma that you should buy your own primary residence to live. So I bought a $350,000 house up in Maple Leaf, up in North Seattle.
Okay.
I was single back then, and just living there by myself and traveling for 100% of the time. So I was never home. So I just called up an old landlord and just said, hey, can you rent this thing out? And I'll just live in the company hotels and lodging whenever I travel. And that's how that was the start of it. So
Yeah.
The mortgage was $1,600 a month, and then the rents was $2,200 a month. So a young 20-something-year-old kid, that was a lot of beer money.
Yeah.
I didn't exactly like my job, so I was like, man, this is my ticket out of this rat race. So that was kind of the start of it all.
Okay. And then how did you go from there? Did you continue to buy other single family homes, or what was kind of your next step?
Yeah, so then I started to, listen to all these podcasts, read a bunch of books, really start to educate myself. And I bought another duplex in South Seattle, $250,000 property that rented for about a couple of $1,000s. I got aware of the concept of the rent to value ratio, where you're trying to look for something 1% or higher. Obviously, both of those two properties did not meet the 1% rule.
Okay.
And then the whole concept of buying A, B, C class properties. That first property was an A class property, which now I know you don't do that. That second property was more of a A minus property in South Seattle. But at that point was about 2012. If everybody sort of remembers, that was when the start of the bull market began.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to pick up a third property that cash flowed. And I was like, what the heck? So that was how I kind of went into these out-of-state properties at that point.
Right. And how did you find which properties cash flowed for you? What kind of what markets were you looking at?
Yeah, so the guidance that I went off and I still give today is like, you try and looking for a secondary market. So primary markets are like Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Hawaii, New York. You don't buy rental properties in these areas. You're competing with unsophisticated investors. The rent to value ratios are not there so that you'll be able to cash flow, income minus expenses. It won't be a net positive.
Yeah.
So most investors, they want to invest for appreciation. But rule number one of investing is don't lose money. And you can ensure that with cash flow. So I looked at the secondary markets like Birmingham, Atlanta, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Memphis, Little Rock, just to name a few. But these are like the second tier cities. They're large, but they're not. They're definitely larger than 50, 100,000 population.
Right.
And those I just kind of focused on those type of markets, ones with population going up because of good, robust economies. And just started to build relationships with other passive investors investing there. And I just went off referrals. And my first few properties were these things called turnkey rentals, which has a tenant in place and it's already been rehabbed, new roof, new flooring, new electrical, new plumbing. And that was kind of how I got started buying properties that I didn't visit or see. Out in places I've never been before.
Yeah. Did you learn anything from that? Did you have any stories of maybe where one didn't work out so well that you were expecting it to?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I bought from 2012 to 2016, I bought 11 of those things, and a lot of stories, of course, but not any huge disasters in the acquisition process.
Okay.
You're buying it sort of retail price, like $100,000 home that rents for $900, $1,000 at cash flows. And you buy it with a lot of the components already in there. One recommendation if I would have done it differently, is I would get the tenant in there after. I wouldn't buy it with the tenant.
Oh, okay.
Some things these guys will do is they'll just put a warm body in there, right? They just want to sell it to the client with a property tenant in place, which isn't exactly the best thing. I'd rather have my property manager, and again, just highlighting that I use property management. I don't do any of this myself. Okay. I want them to vet their own tenants, so that if there's a problem tenant, they don't have the excuse to be like, well, we didn't put them in there. That's just a stepchild.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is that it protects you too. They don't know who actually owns the home. And so they can't come after you personally as well. So it's definitely worthwhile to have a When it comes to today's market, everybody has their opinion on where the market is and where to invest. If someone was going to get started today, what would you suggest that they do?
I would say, just buy for cash flow and proceed forward. Robert Kiyosaki, the guy who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, he has this saying, there's three sides to a coin. Everybody thinks it's tails or heads. It's a good market to buy and it's a bad market, you should not do anything. But sophisticated investors who buy for cash flow live on the edge of the coin. They proceed forward and they know even in a recession, maybe the price of the property goes down, but you still cash flow. You're still in the game. And I think what most like newer investors don't realize is you got to get in the game so that you can build up your network of other passive investors and find better deal flow. If you don't have any property, you're just fishing on the shore. You got to get in the water and get in the game.
That's great advice. And when it comes to passive investing, are you using all your own money or are you conglomerating other people as well who are interested in also passive investing?
Yeah, I mean, when I was buying single family homes, my kind of club and my group that kind of listens to my podcast, it's primarily higher paid professionals. I do real estate investing. In my opinion, you need money to invest. If you don't have money, you got a money problem. And I don't know how to fix that. University of Washington has a great industrial engineering and obviously a great electrical engineering program that you went to. Those will help you find great JOBs, right? To make money. So I bought all these properties just with 20% down payments. And it takes a while, right? You're saving, most of my investors are able to save like 30 grand. Some of them maybe in 50,000 a year, but that's picking up one property a year with 25% down payment and some closing costs. It's one per year. And it took me from 2009 to 2016 to get up to 11 rental properties. So it's not a get rich quick thing, but it's a get rich surely thing. But
absolutely.
After I got up to 11 units, I realized it wasn't quite scalable. And for accredited investors and higher net worth folks who are busy, private placements and syndications are kind of what I've transitioned to. And you sort of just invest at $50,000 chunks into multitude of deals, and you kind of partner that way.
Okay. So is that something that you're working with some other folks with, or maybe we can explain what that means to our listener audience, just in case they don't understand what those terms mean?
Yeah. So a real estate syndication is pulling together a whole bunch of passive investors and other sponsors that lead the deal. So the analogy I like to use is like an airplane. In the cockpit, you have the general partners, the GPs. These are the guys who find the deal, they get the lending, they may put the loan in their name, they operate the deal, and they bring in all the passive investors. And in Coach, you got all the LPs, the passive investors that sit down, shut up, and put their money in the deal and hopefully cash your checks at the end. Everybody's in the same airplane. If the whole plane goes down, the GPs and LPs all go down. Which is good because everybody's sort of aligned. And the idea for high net worth investors is you go into dozens of these type of deals. So that's until 2016, I didn't quite network the right way. For high net worth guys, the local RIA or online forums just aren't the place to go. You've got to kind of pay to play to get into some of these groups. And that was where I found other higher net worth doctors, lawyers, engineers. And that was kind of where my mind was kind of blown to kind of doing it this way instead.
Do you have any of those that you suggest that our listeners go to, or?
Yeah, I mean, they can all reach out to me.
I
can suggest a few. I'm kind of building my own. But
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot out there for sure. Most of them it's not like a website. You actually got to get from behind your computer and, fly out to some of these places. Yeah,
normally even face-to-face stuff is always better anyway, just because you get to know them, they get to know you, and you have a better idea what they're really doing and that your interests align as well. So absolutely is meeting people in person is still better than online, though you can do online stuff. It's just better to meet people in person. So, well, that's really interesting things. And so let's pivot a little bit and let's talk about your simplepassivecashflow.com site and what is there. I notice there's a multitude of information there. If you kind of give us a lowdown on what you're teaching and what you all offer.
Yeah, I mean, it started in 2016. I was still buying single family home, these turnkey rentals.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the original content is kind of like what I was doing, especially the first 20 podcasts. I made it because all my friends were asking me like, oh, how do you buy these properties that you don't even visit,
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell them, and as you guys know, real estate is, people ask so many questions and nobody does anything, right?
Yeah.
So what is a person who's lazy and doesn't like to do too much work, but record the dang thing and put it on YouTube and iTunes. So that's what I did. So anybody's trying to pick up their first out-of-state rental, I mean, go listen to the first 20 podcasts. Everything that you need is right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a turnkey rental, right? It should be just one page of a book is sort of the running joke. But yeah, I mean, it's more of a follow my journey. I mean, 170 something podcasts later, I'm doing something kind of totally different. I've sold off the majority of those original 11 properties that I owned and mostly into private placements and syndication these days. And, kind of built up a little simple passive cash flow nation of mostly accredited investors. And that's kind of how I've kind of, I don't know, I'm just kind of done day by day. Just go on YouTube, right? How do I make a podcast? It's been a great way to meet a lot of like-minded people that are working. And I realize like a lot of people, especially engineers, I guess, engineers don't make too much money. Probably why you left the profession.
But you hit a certain mark.
A lot of hardworking people out there that just misled by like investing in all this garbage, like 401ks and mutual funds. I mean, it's ridiculous. How is it that I can buy just a turnkey rental and make 30-40% of my money every year with it not being like a off-market property, anything special? And yet my 401k barely grows 6 to 8%. Like WTF, like where did all my money go? And it's all in those like the Wall Street, buildings and all these high paid salaries.
Yeah. It's amazing how much, you have the smartest people out there, but they're stuck in a job. And it's like you make enough to be stuck. It's really what it ends up being. And so absolutely it's great advice to just go out there and start. A lot of it is just taking action, getting out in the field, doing what you want to do, and figuring it out as you go along as well. I mean, no one has all the answers, obviously, but if you take action, then you at least learn and then pivot whatever makes sense. But then finding people like you, Lane, who have done it and just kind of following your example. You put it all out there, and that's the beauty of having a podcast and showing what you've done is that it's already there. You can just listen to it and then learn from that directly.
I mean, I'm just sick and tired of like all these like financial rules that we've been told that they just benefit like the big companies. I mean, like one of them is like, if you live in a primary market like California or Hawaii, you shouldn't buy a primary residence. I mean, like, here's what I keep, like this example keeps coming up, like a young family in their early 30s, because people are waiting so late to have kids these days because they can't afford anything anyway. But, they buy like a $600,000, $800,000 house in Hawaii, that's a starter home, by the way. Yeah. And they have to put down $200,000 as a down payment. And that could have bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 turnkey rentals that make you $1,500 to $2,000 a month with just cash flow, not including tax benefits, mortgage pay down, and appreciation. And then what's worse in that situation, now that family has like a $4,500 mortgage and all their cash flow is zero. They have run out of options. They're stuck. They're stuck in that house because they've been misled. And I think that's just wrong. So for people who want to listen or and don't want to live that life where they have a nice house but they're financially in bondage. That's kind of why I did what I did.
Absolutely. Yeah. I see it more and more, because it used to be where buy a house an hour outside where you're living. But if you live in a high area, I live in Southern California, stuff isn't crazy expensive. There's so many other places you can buy that makes a lot more sense. And the down payment is 20% on $100,000 home versus a $500,000 home is huge. And most people don't have that 20% to put on a house in their area anyway. So definitely going to an area which is up and coming, but also affordable as well, is definitely
the worst part of that situation. I mean, it's insert your city, right? Like, in living an hour outside of town, like people are like, well, it's a little bit cheaper. It's $100,000, $200,000 cheaper if I live outside of the city. But now you're commuting 2-3 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you doing all this in the first place, right? Like, you're sitting in your car all day. I mean, yeah, listen to the Simple Passive Cashflow podcast while you're doing it. But people just kind of go after like the shiny, glittery thing, which is often a nice house, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been a wonderful experience. We're going to wrap it up now. We've been talking to Lane Kawaoka. His company is simplepassivecashflow.com. We'll have all of the links to get a hold of him, and you'll be able to learn more about his own podcasts and the other programs that he's part of. Lane, I appreciate you being on our call today. Is there any last parting words you want to give to our audience before we wrap up today?
No. My email is lane@simplepassivecashflow, and thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks. And Tammy, take us out.
All right. Thanks again, Lane and Brian, for being here today. And if you do have any questions for Lane, he did just leave his email address. We'll have that in the show notes along with the link to his podcast, so you can listen to more of his wonderful advice. So if you do have any questions for me or would like to comment on our show, please email me at Tammy, Tammy, @leafylegalservices.com. And please follow us on social media at Leafy Legal. And you can hear us on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of those different apps. And we would love it if you would rate us and leave a comment. So thanks, everyone, again for being here. Thank you, Lane, again. And have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Attention real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Did you know that real estate investors are a primary target for lawsuits? According to the National Survey of the Court data, 25% of Americans risk being sued in their lifetime. However, if you are a real estate investor, you have a 95% chance of being sued in the next 20 years. Leafy Legal Services helps you protect your assets and strategically grow your business and wealth. Leafy Legal Services are experts at the Series LLC and Delaware Statutory Trust, two of the newest and most ideal legal structures for real estate investors. Leafy Legal Services have the most personalized and affordable solutions for setting up LLCs. Property owners are always at risk when it comes to their assets. Anonymity is so important. If you own just a rental house and you own your home, you have to protect yourself and your properties from any potential legal issues. Leafy Legal Services have the right solutions to make sure you are happy and feel secure. They offer cost-effective documentation that suits their clients' needs. For a free consultation and ebook, visit leafylegalservices.com. They are waiting to hear from you. leafylegalservices.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Don't wait. Take action now. LeafyLegalServices.com. Protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth.